Welcome to Stella Ruth's Table, the podcast dedicated to life and everything that comes with it. Come on in and have a seat, grab your beverage of choice, and let's sit down at this table and have a chat. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time of day it is where you are. I greet you with a great big old Texas smile and a hug from afar. Thanks for tuning in to Stella Ruth's Table, where we talk about life and everything that comes with it. My name is Kimberly Brown, and I am unapologetically myself because I don't know how to be nobody else. So, today, I'm so glad that you guys took a minute to tune in. Our topic for today is very, very close to my heart. So I'm apologizing in advance if I get a little emotional. We are talking today about the joy thief. I'm going to let that sink in for a hot second. The joy thief. That's the thing, the person, the situation, or whatever may be that actually comes to steal your joy and steal your drive and steal your determination. The dictionary defines joy as a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. Now, we all know everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to take pleasure in life and have wonderful things happening to them. But sometimes it's hard to keep that joy. And your joy is sometimes tied to your drive and your determination, because if somebody beats you down or kicks down your dreams and kicks down your joy, then it's hard for you to keep going. Let me put it like that. It's hard for you sometimes to keep going because that joy has been stolen, and sometimes joy fuels other things in your life because you enjoy what you're doing and you are happy about how things are happening and how in the direction that you're taking, and you're happy about what you're doing to go and meet your goals. And when somebody kicks down your joy or snatches your joy or does everything that they can to take that away from you, it will put you at a stalemate, because sometimes joy is directly tied to pretty much everything in your life. If you're not happy about where you are, where you work, what you're doing, you will start to falter. It's hard to keep going, and it gets that much harder, and you're exhausted because you're working really hard to fight through something that's making you kind of unhappy. And so the reason we're talking about the joy thief today is because I had a conversation with a young lady, and she said to me, "Miss Kim, I just don't know how to keep that spark and keep that drive to keep going, because I got to pay my bills and I got to do this and I got to do that. But I'm just, I don't feel like I'm making a difference, or I don't feel like I'm making any ground, gaining any ground in what I'm working towards." And she started to share some things with me about, how she had been unhappy. And I got really kind of emotional because I've been where she is. And it hurt me to see somebody else going through that. So we're going to talk about that today. I'm going to talk to you about some different steps and stuff. And I'm going to tell you why it is so near and dear to my heart, recapturing your joy. Let me give you a little bit of background of my story. And like I said, if I get a little emotional, just bear with me, because this is very, very dear to me. When I was in my 20s, mid to late 20s, somewhere up in there, I was with someone that truly did not love me. He didn't love me. He didn't want me to be happy, but he didn't want me. He didn't really want me, but he didn't want anybody else to have me. And he for sure didn't want me to be happy. And so he took pleasure in making me cry and hurting me and making me upset. That would have been, and I went through that twice with two husbands, but we're talking about the first one. So I was with this man for 7 years. And in the 7 years that I was with him. The first four we were first 2 years we were just dating. We were in a relationship, but we weren't living together. And his family did not approve of me because I didn't have a college degree. I had 3 children, and none of them were his. And I couldn't have any more children, so they did not approve. Here's one of the issues. One of the issues was I didn't hide my children in the closet. When this man met me, he knew I had 3 children. I never hid him. I never told him I didn't have. He would see my children all the time because I lived directly across the street from his mother. And we were not in the best of neighborhoods. So, and all of them had a college education, but none of them, really was doing anything with their life. He was a substitute teacher. He barely graduated college because the last couple of years he was busy smoking himself out. I didn't find that out till later on. He had some brothers that had been to college, 2 brothers that they were twins, had been to college. They were working at the cleaners. His oldest brother was the only one that actually kind of had something, going for him. He was actually a fireman. And then he had his sister who had a pretty decent job. And the mom just did not like me. She didn't approve of me. She thought I was beneath all of them. Now, it's funny to me how people treat you like you're beneath them. But you treating me like I'm beneath you, and you living in the hood. You living in the hood. Right next door to the crack house and across the street from the weed house. But because you drive a Cadillac and you've been to college, you think you're better than everybody else. This is exactly kind of what was going on in this situation I was in. And because he wanted to please his mother, she wanted all her sons living in her house up under her. She was happy with that. And because he wanted to please his mother, he would treat me badly. But he wouldn't leave. And he wouldn't let me leave. He wouldn't leave me alone, but he would treat me bad. And so after we had been together about 2 years, he moved into my apartment. There was no discussion of a move-in. It just kind of happened. All of a sudden I looked up and he had all his stuff in my house and all his clothes in my house. And I'm sitting here going, wait, now what's happening? What's going on? And I was living in a low income apartment at the time. And he moved in. And so next thing I know, I'm living with him. Not married, but living. We're shacking up, which was never what I intended. I don't have a problem with people living together, but this just wasn't the life that I intended. I didn't intend for this to happen. And several times I said, you should just leave this guy alone. But my self-esteem was so low that at the time I was like, nobody else is going to want me. I have 3 children. Nobody's going to want to be bothered with me. I have a past. I have, I don't make very much money. I'm living in low income housing. Nobody's going to want to date me. So I stayed in it. And I kept telling myself, I've been with him a while. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. And it didn't. And after 2 years, after we had been moved in together, 2 years together turned into 4 years together. And then after 4 years together and 4 years of abuse mentally and emotionally and verbally, this man talked to me like I was something on the bottom of his shoe on a regular basis, just out the blue for no apparent reason. He would come home from work and I'm in the kitchen cooking, and suddenly he had all these horrible things to say to me, and he called me names, and I didn't understand it. And I'm sitting here thinking that my children don't know that this is going on, not knowing that they're hearing every bit of this, to the point where he was just mean. And I bought my daughter a rabbit. She wanted a rabbit as a pet. She was scared of everything else, but she wanted a rabbit. And I bought her a rabbit. Suddenly one day we came home and the rabbit was outside on the patio. I'm like, why'd you put the rabbit outside? And he's like, I don't want that in this house. And the next morning I woke up, I opened up the blinds, and the rabbit was gone. And his response was, gotcha. I to this day don't know what that man did with my baby's rabbit. This is how mean he was, And he took pleasure in making me cry. If I was smiling and happy, he had to say something or do something to make me upset. It bothered him when I smiled, And so after being together for 4 years and I'm telling myself it's got to get better, finally I said, no, I'm leaving. This is not the life I want. I don't want to be with somebody that will never marry me. I don't want to be living with somebody that I'm not married to. And I packed my stuff and I left. And he found me. He came to my job. Why'd you leave? I said, look, you don't want me. You're not happy with me because you can't possibly love me with the way that you treat me. So I left. I'm gone. I'm letting you be free and go on about your business. And no, come home. I know what this about. You want to get married. Just come home. I'm like, it's not just about getting married. It's about everything. But me falling for it because, again, I'm telling myself, nobody's going to want a woman with 3 kids. Nobody's going to want a woman that's not making any money, not really, I worked 2 jobs. They were both very low paying, and nobody's going to want this situation. And he talked to me and begged me, and I fell for it. And I said, okay, fine. I'll come home. I'll come back. And he said, well, where are you living? I said, well, I got my own apartment. I got another apartment. Well, I'll just move into that one with you. Okay, fine. 2 days later, we got married. We went to the Justice of the Peace and got married. And we said, I do. We left the Justice of the Peace's house and got in the car. Immediately, this man cussed me and talked to me like I was a dog all the way home. Like from the moment we said I do, when we got in the car to head back home, he talks to me like I had never been talked to. This was worse than anything he had ever done. And I'm sitting there, and you just said I do to me. You just married me. And I'm sitting there and I'm crying. And then suddenly he looks at me and says, why are you crying? What's wrong? And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what have I done? So now I've married this fool and I'm stuck. And it just got worse and worse from there. The relationship got more and more volatile. It turned from verbal abuse to emotional abuse to physical abuse. The man chased me out of my house into a garage in a slip in the cold. The man, I had to drive myself to the emergency room because I was sick as a dog, and he would not come get me. I had to try to find my own way home. This man treated me like trash. One night I got up out of my bed and I got on my knees and I began to pray because I just couldn't take anymore. And the whole time I was praying, the man was in my ear, cussing me out, telling me I was ugly and I was this and I was that and I hate you. While I'm on my knees praying, he's like right in my ear. And so after we got married, we were married 3 years, but I think we actually lived in the same house about 6 months. And that wasn't 6 months consecutively. That was 6 months total. And in the 6 months that we lived in the same house, it was the same thing, but it was worse every single time. So, and every time I would leave, he would find me. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out how this man found me. Every time he would find out where I lived and he would just show up. And then he would do stuff to try to get me kicked out of my apartment. Or he would park behind my car so I can't leave. And he would, all kind of, just crazy stuff. So finally, when I said, I can't do this anymore, I want a divorce. He was so bent on making sure that I didn't divorce him. He hurried to an attorney, filed for a divorce, paid for everything. I didn't care. I told him you could tell people I was selling my body on the corner for Lent for all I care. Long as I don't have to be with you and be in this horrible turmoil anymore. You hate me. You don't want me. You don't want to be around me. If you loved me, you would not treat me the way that you treat me. I'm done. After 7 years, that's 7 years of my life I can't get back. And I did the same thing with the second husband. I stayed with that fool 10 years. So that's 17 years of my life that I cannot get back. But after going through all of that and having to deal with all of that, I dropped to my knees and I said, Lord, now if you're not a spiritual person or a religious person, that's you, that's fine. But I couldn't find no help nowhere else. And I dropped to my knees and I said, Lord, whatever happens, don't ever let me lose my joy again. And I have to honestly tell you that God has honored that prayer. I enjoy being the person that smiles at everybody. I love smiling at people. I love making people smile. I love giving people big hugs. If I sense you're going through something, I just walk up and give you a hug and say, baby, it's going to be all right. I love being that person. And God has allowed me to be that person. Now, what you have to do, and I'm telling you this story because you have to be aggressive about snatching your joy and holding on to it. So let me tell you about these joy thieves. What joy thieves do is they come in, they kick down your dreams. When you tell them you have things that you want to do with your life and you tell them that you have, certain things that you're trying to do, they nitpick at it and tell you, well, why you do that at your age? You shouldn't be doing this and that's not going to make you any money and da-da-da-da-da. These are the kind of things that they say. Joy thieves, when they see you smiling, they have to say something ugly so that you don't smile again. Joy thieves, when they see you happy, they have to try to make something that they're doing better than what you're doing so you can be unhappy. My grandmother used to say all the time, misery loves company. That is a very true statement because they want you to be more miserable than them. So they come in and they snatch your joy and they take up your time. And your joy thieves can be in the form of, doesn't just have to be a spouse or a girlfriend or boyfriend or anything like that. You have joy thieves that are friends. You have joy thieves that are family members. You have these people that come in and they steal all of your joy, all of your spark, all of your drive, all of your happy because they're unhappy with who they are. And then what happens is they come in and they steal it from you. They didn't leave no business card. They didn't ring it up. They didn't pay for it, but they got it and they gone on about their business. And guess what? They still ain't satisfied because they're going to come back for more because you're the person they know they can kick down. When you are in these relationships with these people that don't like you, don't love you, you don't love me. You don't even act like you like me. If I was on fire in the street, you wouldn't even spit on me to put me out. People that don't want you, but don't want nobody else to have you, you have to get up enough strength. Grab yourself and walk away. I'm like Fantasia. If you don't want me, free yourself. Don't talk to me. Just go on about your business. We ain't got to do this. We ain't got to waste this time. If you don't like me, hey, go on. It's all right. You're not going to hurt my feelings because I'd rather you leave me alone than to keep hurting me and keep hurting me. And somebody said to me, Kim, hurt people hurt other people. That's true. Hurt people hurt other people. But you don't have to keep hurting me. And I'm not going to keep allowing you to hurt me. So when you are in relationships with these people that want to steal your joy, that be a romantic relationship, that would be a friendship, that even with some family members, my grandmother used to say it all the time, misery loves company. Everybody says that. Misery loves company. When other people are miserable with who they are, they're going to try to kick you down and beat you down to snatch the joy that you have. That's not right and it's not fair. Just because you miserable don't mean I have to be miserable. One thing I love about my husband is he's always got ideas, Trust me, he's always got ideas and he's always got suggestions and advice. But he is never, when he comes to you with something, he's never coming to you to a point where he's trying to kick down your dreams. He's coming to you because he wants to be as encouraging as he possibly can. You don't want to be around anybody that's trying to kick your dreams down and tear you down. And if every time you smile, they got to do something to make you upset, you need to leave that person alone. You have to learn how to not self-sabotage yourself. You are worthy of having joy. You are worthy of having happiness. You are worthy of living a good life. You have to be willing and able to do what you have to do to get to what you're trying to get to in life. And when I say willing and able, I mean you got to be, as my sons say all the time, savage about fighting for your joy and fighting for your happiness. Every day, when I open my eyes in my bed, the first thing I do is say, thank you, Lord. Because I'm on the list of people that woke up this morning. Then after I get up out of the bed and go do in the bathroom, do what I got to do, I stand in the mirror and I say, Kim, you are a beautiful person inside and out. You deserve happiness. You deserve love. And you deserve success. Let's go get it. I say that to myself every single day. You have to come up with your own affirmations, things that you need to tell yourself every day so that you can hold on to your joy. I stand in there, when I first started doing that, standing in that mirror, telling myself those things, I would cry every time. Because there was a time in my life I didn't feel like I deserved any of that. Because I had such a hard past. I struggled raising my children. I struggled to keep food on the table. I struggled to make ends meet. And then I kept getting involved with these people that didn't want nothing to do with me, that would hurt me on a regular basis. For what? So you can make yourself feel better? You gonna call me out my name so you can feel better about yourself? You gonna tell me I'm unworthy so you can feel better about you? My second husband, this man is an electrician. He treated me really bad, and I told you guys the story of how he ended our marriage over the telephone, all nonchalant, like it wasn't no big deal. But had it not been for me, and I have to toot my own horn here. Had it not been for me, this man would not be an electrician. Because guess what? He couldn't pass the test. He was 20 years old when he graduated high school. Because he had trouble comprehending when it came to tests. So I figured out a way to get him grandfathered in because of the hours he had put in as an apprentice. So when I had sent so much paperwork in and called those people so much that they knew me when I would call. I took 3 months. I took a whole summer without working to do this for this man so that he can get his license, so that he can make more money. Do you know, even though he treated me ugly, I did this because I loved him and I cared about him and I was his wife. Not only did he rub it in my face on a regular basis that I wasn't working, even though he asked me not to for a few months so that I could help him out. You know, when this man got his license and started making some money, and then he used my medical insurance because we couldn't get insurance through him because, of course, he didn't have insurance available to him. He couldn't get income tax because he owed back child support. So I took care of everything. I had medical insurance on my job. I was working. I had a pretty decent job making decent money. But once he started making some money, he got this surgery to lose all this weight. And then suddenly this man told me I was not good enough for him anymore. I was beneath him now. because I had gained a few pounds. So now I was beneath him. Ain't that something? I helped you build you up, and now I'm beneath you. So here I am trying to figure out, as I'm steadily devastated by what this man done said to me, I was beneath him and I needed to try to do something with my life, and I didn't have no, I wasn't, now keep in mind, like I said, this man was 20 years old when he graduated high school. Not to mention, he couldn't pass the test to become an electrician. He could do the work, but he couldn't pass the test. And I did all of this for him. And now he's telling me that I don't have a doctor or anything in front of or behind my name, and I don't have no degrees, and I ain't got no real financial potential. And I had gained weight, and now I was no longer attractive to him. Excuse me? How dare you? How dare you? And I'm telling you this because I don't want anybody going through what I went through. If somebody doesn't love you enough to love you just like you are, if they're always trying to change you and make you somebody that you're not, or if they're trying to tear you down to make sure that you are beneath them, they're saying things to you like he said to me, he wanted to completely break my spirit. If somebody is treating you like that, they are not worthy of the wonderful person that you are. They are not worthy to even spend that time with you. Your joy is a precious, precious commodity, and they don't deserve to be able to take it from you. And like I said, you have to get to a point in your life where, and I know it's hard. I've been there. It's hard. God, is it hard to maintain your joy and maintain your drive when somebody is kicking you down and beating you down and tearing you down? But guess what? You can do it because it's what you deserve. You deserve happiness. You have to get to a point where you are constantly encouraging yourself. If you ever heard that song by Donald Lawrence, he says sometimes I have to encourage, they say speak over yourself, encourage yourself. It says it in the Bible. David said I had to encourage myself. That is a true statement. That's what all of these, motivational speakers and stuff do. They teach you how to encourage yourself and tell yourself that you deserve better and you deserve more. And there's nothing wrong with wanting better for yourself and wanting more out of your life. There is nothing wrong with that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to be happy. If somebody is telling you that you too nice, ain't nobody that nice, then they the one with the problem, not you. That's the first thing. And the second thing is they need to dismiss themselves, or you need to dismiss them. One of the things me and my daughter say, and this is a saying that everybody's saying now, please have a seat and have a big tall glass of shut up. My favorite thing is go to find a stadium and find several seats and have it. Because you're not going to steal my joy. I like being happy. I like smiling. And if that's what you want out of life, then you deserve it. And it takes way too much energy to be angry all the time. Have you ever noticed when someone is angry all the time and they mad about everything and they tearing you down and kicking you down, they always tired and sick. And girl, I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted. It's because they spending all that energy being mad. You don't have to be that way. They spend a lot of energy trying to tear you down because they're jealous of what you're doing, what's in you, and where you're going. A lot of times if people see the potential in you, they will try to kick it down because it makes them feel bad about themselves that you have so much wonderfulness made up in you. That's what that is. And I had to learn that. I had to learn that it was okay for me to smile. It was okay for me to be a joyous person. I had to learn that these men did not have the right to snatch my joy because you unhappy with who you are. How dare you come try to snatch mine and beat me down so you can make yourself feel like a man? Are you crazy? I had to learn that those friends of mine that always had something negative to say about something I was doing, excuse you. So you're unhappy and your life is horrible, so you're going to try to make mine be horrible too. I had to learn those family members that can say some of the ugliest stuff did not have the right to steal my joy. I'm going to share a little bit with you guys so you can understand just how passionate I am about making sure that people maintain their joy and their happiness. And so that you can understand that I have been where you are and you don't have to stay there. My mother, I love her to death. I love her with everything in me. I am her only child, the only child she gave birth to. But I have spent my life trying to get her to understand that I'm not in competition with her. I just want her to be my mom. I just want to love her and I want her to love me back. I want her to be proud of me for the things that I do and not tear down the things that I do to try to make it be about her. I want her to say to me, baby, I am proud of you. And I know that she truly means it, that she's not just telling me that because she feels like if I get somewhere, she can get something out of it. My mother kicked me out of her house when I was 20 years old. I was pregnant with my third child. Now you might say, okay, she was tired of you getting pregnant on her. But I was not the kind of kid or teenager or young adult to just ride off my mother. I paid a good portion of the bills. I bought groceries for myself and my children. My mother did not have to come out of her pocket for anything. I rode the bus or walked just about everywhere I went. I didn't even ask my mother for a ride because I was taking care of me and mine. We just lived in the same house. Because she went to church one night and somebody told her, you need to put her out. She came home and said, you got to go. I will never forget it. It was a Friday night. And she said to me, you got to go. You got to find you somewhere else to be, or I'm taking you and them kids to the shelter on Monday. I was about 7 months pregnant. And God fixed it. And I found a place quick, fast, and in a hurry. I found a place. And then after I found the place, moved in. The man let me move in immediately. And I was okay for a little while. I worked hard and tried to save a little money because I was going on maternity leave within a couple of months. And I needed to have some money to pay my bills while I was off. And things got tight. And I was due any day. So I called my mother and I said, Mom, this baby's coming any day now. I need to come stay with you because I didn't have a phone in the house. So I said, I need to come stay with you till the baby comes and, maybe stay a couple of weeks after so I can make sure I'm okay with the kids, if you don't mind. I'll let you come, but, you can't stay forever. I know that, And so I went and she came and got me, and me and the kids went to stay with her. About a week later, I went into labor. I called a church because that's where she was, and said, hey, can you tell my mom I'm in labor? I need her to come now. She told him to tell me, you'll be all right till I get home. So I was in labor the entire day. She picked me up that evening, and we rushed to the hospital about 10 something that night. Had my baby. What I didn't know was she took my children to my grandmother's house, and they stayed there the whole time I was in the hospital. And then when I got out of the hospital, she picked me up, took me to my grandmother's house, dropped me off, and left. Didn't come back. So I hear my grandmother on the phone going off about her leaving us at her house and this, that, and the other. And at the time, you just had a baby, you're emotional. I didn't realize that my grandmother was angry with the way my mother was treating me. My grandmother wasn't saying that she didn't want me there. So I called a friend and said, hey, come get me. I don't want to be anywhere I'm not welcome. Just take me home. She took me home. I get home. I had no lights, no water, no gas. But I had to make do. So first 2 weeks of my new baby girl's life, we were in the house with no lights, no water, no gas. Thank God it was the summertime, so we weren't cold. And my mom comes by and brings a cooler full of lunch meat and milk and water and drops it off and said, this is the hardest thing I ever had to do. And she drives off and leaves crying. Now, I'm laughing about it now, but then I could not, for the life of me, understand why this woman would treat me this way. I wasn't a bad daughter. I made some mistakes like any other teenager, but I didn't understand. And so we've had a strained relationship for a long time. We finally kind of got back on track. But my mother was one of those people that would actually snatch my joy. She came to my house. She wanted to run my house and hers, but she didn't want me in her house. And then she came to my house and called me a welfare slut. Told me that's what I was turning into. And I couldn't understand why she called me that. I had a full-time job. I worked hard to try to provide for my family. And she said, you ain't turning into nothing but a welfare slut. You living over here in this low-income housing. Well, that's all I could afford at the time. And through the years, these are the kind of things that my mother would do. When I told her about the ventures that I was starting with my YouTube channel and everything, she didn't even acknowledge what I said. She just moved on and told me how somebody else had just got their master's degree. But when she got sick, I dropped everything and took off to go take care of my mother, because that's my mother. And then when I married my husband, thank God, I love him to death. My life has been so good the past 9 years. But when I married my husband and she realized what kind of man he was and what kind of money he made, suddenly he was her favorite person. And she was just so proud. And that's my baby. I'm just glad she okay. But all through the years, I have been not the first thing on your mind, or not the first in line, and it's a long process. She will drop anything and do anything for anybody else, but if I were to ask her, if she did it came with multiple conditions. That was her way of stealing my joy. It used to be a time in my life where if I had an idea, or if I had decided that I wanted to do something, what would happen is she would say something really negative about it, and I would just say, forget it then, and give up. And that's how it was for a long time for me with just people in general. If somebody kicked down my dream or said something negative about it, or said it didn't make sense, and girl, you don't need to be trying to do that because you too old for this, that, and the other, I would just say, drop it and say, forget it. Nobody's going to support me. But it doesn't have to be that way. I started to realize that I was responsible for maintaining my own joy. I was responsible for encouraging myself. I was responsible for fighting the good fight to keep my drive the way it is. I fight. When I tell you guys I fight hard, I fight hard. But when I prayed and asked God to never let me lose my joy again. That has been honored. I feel a little strength. Whenever I get discouraged, I feel a little extra strength coming. Even now, in these ventures with my YouTube channel and my podcast and my seasoning company, even though it's not going to always be perfect. Even though it wasn't doing as well as I would like, in some areas, it's just not doing as well as I would like. I still find a little strength that just comes upon me to just keep going. And I have a little strength to maintain that joy because I am happy in what I'm doing because I know I'm doing what I love to do. And I am happy and joyful about where it's going. It may not be perfect. It may not seem like it's great right now, but it's going to get better. And that's what you have to remember. As long as you are fighting, and even if you only take one step forward, you're still moving forward. When you stop fighting for it and you stop trying, that's when you have killed your own dream. As long as you're fighting for it, you still moving. When you stop fighting, then you're just going to lay there and let them knock you out. And one thing I decided a long time ago is that I'm not going to give anybody the satisfaction of being the person that killed my dreams. We ain't having no funerals for no dreams and visions. We're not having no funerals for no lost art. Anything that I set my mind to, I'm going to fight for it. If I want it, I'm going to fight for it. Yes, it helps that I have a husband that is extremely supportive, and he will do anything in the world to support me because he believes in me. And I fought for a long time, guys. I was by myself in this fight for years. My son will be 32 years old this year. I was by myself in this fight for years. And being by myself in this fight, I learned to keep on fighting. And God sent me somebody that could fight with me. And it's easy. It's easy for you to say, Miss Kim, you got a husband that will help you through that. No, it's not easy for me to say because before I had a husband that would help me through that, I was by myself. Before I had a husband that supported me, I spent 17 years of my life with people that tore me down. I spent 40-something years of my life with a mother that never made me feel like I was priority in her life. I spent 40-something years of my life with friends that took, but never gave. And when I say take, I mean taking emotionally. I was alone. Some of the loneliest times in my life was when I was in a room full of people that were supposed to love me. And I told y'all, bear with me because I get emotional when it comes to this subject because your joy is your joy. God gave me mine and allowed me to fight to keep it. He gave me the strength to fight to keep my joy. You have to find your strength to fight to keep yours. My drive has not been hindered. I still to this day have people that tear me down, that say little stuff. And you gotta be careful of those little bitty, remarks, the little snide remarks. And you like, wait a minute, did you just say? You gotta be careful of that because those are the little nicks that turn into big infected scars. Them little bitty nicks, they just took a little dig at me. And then it turns into an infection because it festers and festers and festers. You got to be careful. When you get somebody in your life that's doing that, you dismiss them happily. If you can't be supportive and you can't be in my corner, I dismiss you happily. I refuse to give anybody the satisfaction of killing my dreams ever again. Ever again. You stand in that mirror every morning and you tell yourself, I'm worth happiness. But you don't say I'm. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you say you. You deserve happiness. You deserve your joy. You deserve success. You deserve to make what you want to make out of your life. And sometimes, the first few times when you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, you're beautiful. You're smart. You're strong. You deserve happiness. You deserve success. You deserve joy. The first few times you do that, you might be in tears. But it won't be long before your tears is just a big old smile, because you're just reminding yourself of your beautifulness that is coming your way every single day. You have to exude and bleed positivity in your own life. And sometimes when you bleed that joy and you bleed that positiveness, people will dismiss themselves because they can't take it. I'm like that motivational speaker. I forget her name. If my brightness is too much for you, put you some shades on, baby. Because I'm not turning it down. I leave you all with this. Fight for your joy. Dismiss the joy thieves in your life. Fight for your happiness. Fight for your drive. I'm going to get to my goals and my success if I have to crawl. You do the same. God bless you. And God keep you. And I pray wonderful joy in everyone's life that is listening to this podcast. I got to go dry my face because I've been crying. But I love you for listening. Thank you so much for listening and stopping by. This is Kimberly Brown reminding you to live your life. Laugh often. Eat some good food while you're doing it. If you want to check us out, we have a YouTube channel. It's called Stella Ruth's Table, where you can listen to some of our podcasts there. If you want to send me an email, you send an email to stellaruthstable@gmail.com. And we also have a Facebook page called Stella Ruth's Table. If you want to check out some other things that we're doing, we also have a Facebook that is my cooking show. It is Stella Ruth on I'm sorry, I said Facebook, I mean YouTube. And that's Stella Ruth on YouTube. You can check us out on Instagram at Stella Ruth 2930. Or you can find us at Stella Ruth at Love Mom on Twitter. And my daughter gets mad when I say it like that, Twitter. But you can find us on Twitter. I thank you guys so very much for stopping by and for taking the time to listen to me and letting me pour out my heart to you, because I want your life to be as happy as mine is. God bless you. Keep talking and be unapologetically yourself. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.